Welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast number 15, the AEW Dynamite review from March 22nd, 2023. I'm Cosmic Scott. With me tonight is Jay, and we unfortunately missed last week. That was my fault. Technical difficulties fixed this week. So welcome back, Jay. I know that half of the podcast was missing, and that half was you. This isn't the same without you. So welcome back to actually being recorded again.
Yeah, thanks. It was last week I was able to go to Winnipeg for the show and get to see Kenny and Jericho's homecoming in Winnipeg with a major promotion for the first time. First time for Kenny, not for Jericho, but it was a great time. I got to meet a lot of cool people. One of the people that I met actually joined the Elite Mark Order. The show was excellent. The crowd was excellent. It was a great time. And one of these days, maybe we'll revisit that podcast and re-release it.
Yeah, somehow get your voice re-recorded. Maybe you'll just try to re-improvise responses to what I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe we'll release it when we do a Patreon. That'll be Patreon only. They can just listen to the one-sided conversation of the sultry tones of myself talking on one-sided convo. But that'll be Patreon days later on. Anyways, so I really wish we had last week. However, we must move on, much like they did at the beginning of this show. They had an immediate cold opening with the Young Bucks being hospitalized, sent away in ambulances. The first one had the partner, the Brandon Cutler, my buddy. And he's like, you got to have someone go in with the other ambulance because ambulances only take one person. So off they went with Nick, and Matt had to have Hangman go with them. So suddenly the Young Bucks and Hangman are gone, and Kenny Omega starts this drama with Don Callis about I should be going with them to the hospital, and Callis is like, no, let's stay here. So I thought it was great as far as a cold open goes. It really sort of kick-started the show. What did you think of the way that they just started like that before anything else?
So I'm super excited to see the Elite actually getting some, quote, stories used finally on Dynamite. Stuff that's building, stuff that's evolving and changing week to week. It's been a long time. It's been since Kenny was hurt and he lost the title to Hangman, where the Elite has had any significant time on Dynamite to build from week to week. Other than the best of 7, which there wasn't really much story around that, it was just booked. And for me that was fine, but I think we saw with those trios matches and even in the best of 7, there was, despite those being incredible historic matches, there was a decline in viewers. So apparently your casuals may have tuned out because they just weren't interested in the 6-man. So I think what's happening now should help get the ratings up. It should rein in some more casual fans that aren't just there to watch the in-ring action. So I'm excited to see the Bucks and Kenny get a chance to be more featured on the show and see what kind of traction they can get going here.
Well, speaking of ratings, we did note it, the Discord, obviously we posted the ratings because it's important to see what sort of gained the eyes, what didn't gain the eyes. Just sort of keep an eye on what's working, what isn't. And I noticed it started off really well because, hey, it's the Young Bucks, it's Kenny Omega. Those are the stars of the goddamn product. Of course they're going to get the most eyeballs. And then just a severe crater for the Ass Boys. And then it shot basically back up for the rest of the show. So It's very clear to me that the Ass Boys are the problem. Everything else seemed to be okay. The starting trios match kept eyeballs. Everything was good right up until the Ass Boys. So I want to start talking about the Dream match because it was the best part of the show. Because I want people to really, if nothing else, about this show, about this Dynamite, they need to watch that match. So I want to start with it because I thought it was fucking amazing. I'd like to hear what you thought about it, Jay.
Excellent. It was great to see Kenny in his singles match. It was his first singles match on Dynamite in a really long time. I'm not even sure when his last singles match on TV was.
500 plus days ago, they said.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while. Yeah, it was touted as a dream match. I think that's how Tony Khan advertised it on Twitter. There was a backlash from your, I guess, quote, casuals or WWE stance saying, how can it be a dream match when it's, you have a guy who nobody's ever heard of, and it's well, Vikingo is, he's a AAA champion, and him and Kenny were supposed to fight a year ago for the AAA title. And it was considered a dream match by a lot of people then. So, after waiting a year, there was even more anticipation for it to finally happen. So I was definitely shocked to see this match booked, apparently out of nowhere. It was like, whoa, Kenny versus Vikingo, holy crap. And it definitely lived up to all the expectations. It was an incredible singles match. Just some of the moves that Vikingo did were incredible. Just stuff I had never seen before, and I can't even think of the Dragon Rana off the top rope to the apron where Kenny was standing, and then onto the floor, and then the second rope springboard into the 630 through the table. Just incredible stuff.
Now, here's the thing. For anybody listening who doesn't know what a Dragon Rana off the apron is, let me explain to you what happened in sort of your mind's eye visual terms. So Vikingo stands on the top of the ring post, not the corner, the actual post itself, where there's a camera mounted on one corner, but not this one. Or if it was, he knocked it the fuck off. And he's standing on the ring post. Kenny is standing on the apron facing him. And this inhuman daredevil does a somersault and lands with his feet on Kenny's shoulder in a Hurricane Rana. He then flips down. Kenny flips off of the apron onto the call it a mat, the ringside mat, and Vikingo somehow is successful at this. Now, this is not the first thing that you see from this man, but holy crap, he does a lot of this kind of stuff through this match. Because, again, somersault lands with his feet on Kenny's shoulder and then locks his feet together, turns it into a Hurricane Rana, and Kenny is hurled off of the apron. Crap, that was amazing. Now, the one through the table, he took a running start. He crossed the ring. He crossed back. He took a foot. He put it on the second rope, launched himself, and did a 630 somersault senton splash into Kenny through the goddamn table. This is fucking inhuman stuff. Now, he did what was called a Phoenix Splash. And I cannot believe a human was able to do this. He stood on the second rope facing the crowd. He jumped backwards in a twisting somersault, landing on... I can't even explain it better than that. A corkscrew twisting somersault plancha from the outside in somehow landed on Kenny. And that's not even the most impressive thing he did. Oh my fucking God, this guy. Now, I didn't know him from Adam, but obviously as the AAA champion, they talked him up. I thought Excalibur did an amazing job explaining it throughout the night. So by the time the match came, the audience at home, if they were a quote-unquote casual, had a great idea why this was going to be a great match. And it was. It was phenomenal. This guy was like Commander from a couple of weeks ago, who's did a couple of amazing moves. You're like, oh my God, that was great. Times 10. Because Kenny Omega, the only thing he could do was use his size and power against Vikingo and it was V-triggers, and it was backbreakers, and it was Kenny taking moves on his goddamned head a number of times. And the one from the corner where he somehow did a flip into a Hurricane Rana into the ring. And no, it was a Poison Rana where Kenny, he leapt from the second rope backwards over Kenny, landed on his shoulders, then did the Poison Rana. This dude was inhuman, and the best comparison I have heard was a young Rey Mysterio, and I remember those days. And that's a great comparison, but this dude is at that next level. If you hate flippy shit, you are done with AEW, because this is the best flippy shit they've got. And it's not even their wrestler.
It was great stuff. Kenny did a great job selling in this match. I was actually concerned, and Excalibur even brought up the hernia surgery, and Kenny's like hobbling around, holding his stomach because of how many times did Vikingo like do a flip and land on him, and then also that one reversal off the second rope. I can't remember the exact sequence, but Kenny basically landed on his shoulders, and Vikingo landed on top of him. There was just a lot of huge match, a lot of big spots in the match. It was good stuff, and we finally got the finish. And what did you think how the match turned out? How the ending finished?
I don't think it was a surprise that Kenny Omega got the win on AEW television, and I think there's going to be a rematch very soon for the title that Kenny never lost. And I think Hijo del Vikingo is going to get his win back. And he's going to be the champion in AAA, and he's going to have beat Kenny Omega for it in AAA in front of their audience. And I think that's perfect. I think that's great payback. The champion lost to Kenny. Kenny loses to the champion in front of their audience. That's the way territories are supposed to work. And I thought that was great. Now, after the match, there was some shenanigans. I'd like to maybe get to that at the end of the show. But I wanted to actually review the match itself because holy crap, that was some amazing wrestling. And Kenny Omega, once again, puts on an amazing match with another opponent with a totally different style. You know what I mean? Like, who isn't he good against?
Yeah, he could do it all. I think one of the matches I want to see him in is Paul White talking about a comeback. I'd love to see how Kenny would work a match with Paul White, since Paul White was saying Kenny was one of his dream opponents. So it would just be interesting. And Kenny has said in the past he's been wanting to work a match with a big man. So we'll see what happens. I'm not sure if Kenny's going to go to Mexico and fight Vikingo anytime soon. I don't know how aggressive he's going to be with his schedule. I mean, one of the things he said recently is, he's only going to be doing single matches if it's for a title or if it counts. And certainly, a main event in AAA at one of their big shows is a worthy cause. But I think with his contract coming up, he might be, playing it a little cautiously over the next 6 or 7 months before he signs. And the last thing he wants to do is re-injure himself and have to sit out another 6-9 months, and which would potentially leave the Bucks stranded if the Bucks were to make a move or to a different promotion. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much he does do in singles.
I mean, you bring up valid points. And I do want to see more of Kenny in singles matches. This once again proves that the trios for those three weren't working. House of Black, totally different story. But for these three, I wanted to see Kenny as a singles match doing these types of things. So, welcome back. Let's go back to the start of the show. After the Young Bucks are taken away by the ambulance, how do you start an AEW Dynamite? You start it with Orange Cassidy. So out comes Orange Cassidy. Now, how do you keep those casual fans, those casual eyes? Right after a big cold open with the ambulance taking people away, very first match, you bring out your big OC and you bring out Sting. It's like, oh, maybe some of those lapsed fans will stick around for Sting. And they may have. But the fact of the matter is, it was Orange Cassidy, as well as Darby Allin and Sting, versus my new favorite trio, The Butcher, The Blade, and Kip Sabian. Now, I don't know what name Andrew has come up with them yet. I assume it has something to do with the fact that they're not blonde. So maybe they can color their hair and they can be the mercenary blondes. Kip is kind of platinum already. And Butcher is bald. So
is the Blade.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. They're the platinum mercenaries or the platinum assassins. There you go. Platinum assassins.
Maybe Kip Sabian could shave his head and they could be the outlaw balds.
Oh, you know what? That's even better. The Outlaw Balds. So that's the new team name with Kip Sabian and the Butcher and the Blade, the Bald Blade.
And Penelope can do the same.
Penelope can do whatever she wants with her hair. She's beautiful. She would look amazing, even bald. And they had a fun trios match. I thought it was great. This match was about Sting. This match wasn't about OC. This match wasn't about getting Darby over for his challenge later on with the 4-pillar storyline. This match was about Sting coming out and just having a fun time. And just being Sting. The audience loved it. They loved him. He loves them. Everybody was in love. Why not start with something like that? And they did. And again, I think the audience was receptive to it right up until we got to the Ass Boys. So let that be said. Fuck the Ass Boys.
Yeah. I thought it was, I love the team, Darby, Orange, and Sting. We had this was kind of a payoff from when Sting and Orange Cassidy had a little exchange outside the ring a long time ago, where Sting and OC, I believe they exchanged the OC kicks outside the ring, and then they did like a fist bump or something. So this kind of paid this off. It was the second part of the story. It looked like Sting and OC definitely had respect for each other. OC putting the sunglasses on Sting at the end of the match. And it was interesting for a second. I was like, well, Darby's kind of ignoring Sting. And I'm like, is something going on there? Like, Sting is saying that, he's going to retire this year. He mentioned that around the same time he did the Muda's last match stuff. So if Sting retires, who's his last match going to be? Well, it's going to have to be against Darby. I would think he'll put Darby over, and that'll be his last match. That would be the perfect ending to everything that Tony's been doing with him in AEW.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
What I like, though, is... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Keep going.
Okay. So what I like, though, is how they cut right from this match. It was kind of a meaningless match. Sting got the finish with the Death Drop DDT and Scorpion Death Drop. And, it was basically inconsequential. I don't think these guys are going to be fighting again anytime soon. Maybe Sabian will go after Orange again. I don't know. Not that, and I don't think anyone really wants to see that, except for a few of the elite marks who are big Kip Sabian fans, maybe. But so what I liked that they did here, and I thought it was kind of unique, was Darby was looking up at the Double or Nothing sign, and they went right into the thing about the 4 pillars, and they did the flashback to last week. So it's like they went from the match right into the story, and they were promoting Double or Nothing, and they were promoting the fact that 3 of the 4 pillars want a match with MJF, and I thought they just did an awesome job on that transition. I thought it was really well done, and it just made me excited. And like for the first time, I'm really thinking, I think they're going to do a 4-way with the 4 pillars for the title at Double or Nothing, and that's going to be fucking incredible.
And that makes sense. That it does seem that that's what they're building towards. I agree. I thought the transition from the end of the match with Darby staring at the Double or Nothing into the pillar package into a commercial, I thought that was staged really well. The funny thing is, when they came back, there was not more commercials. There was another video package, which was hype for the Kenny Omega and Hijo del Vikingo. And I thought the best part of that video package was where Excalibur said, if you don't know who Vikingo is, you will after tonight. So
Right.
the video package showed their history and a little bit of their match and kind of why it was a dream match and why it was held off for so long. And then he made a statement that by the end of the night, as I've already said, absolutely comes true. So I think they did a great job of promoting it throughout the night without being overbearing in an overproduced, multi-billion-dollar company way. It didn't overpower every segment. You know what I mean?
Right.
They gave everybody else a chance to breathe.
Yep. Yep.
So from there, we moved on to the worst segment of the night. And that includes a promo by Jade and Mark Sterling. So,
What about QTV?
and that includes QTV. So this is the worst segment of the night. And the wrestling happens to be fairly good. I love Top Flight. Dante and Darius are an amazing team. Once again, they're the next generation. Their flippy doodah high flying stuff is fucking amazing. And every time Dante does his stuff, I am surprised at just how good he is. And so I they happen to be ROH talent right now. And so they're feuding with the Kingdom in ROH. And as a result, they lost because of interference. Now, is that or is that not classic wrestling booking where a team that deserves a win gets screwed out by an outside team during a title match because of their feud? So I can't argue that. I don't like the outcome. I'd have loved Top Flight to win, and the Ass Boys still suck ass. Fortunately. Yeah, please go ahead.
I thought it was, I guess it was some good exposure for the Kingdom and the Top Flight rivalry that they have going. And also Dante and Darius, of course, they both of them looked excellent.
Always.
And I think there's a lot more to come from these guys. I think out of all the young teams that we've seen in AEW, those two guys, it's going to be really interesting to see where they go. Like, what is this team going to look like in 5 years, in 7 years?
Where's their cap?
They're going to fill out a little bit. They're going to, they're going to start embracing their gimmick, whatever that's going to end up becoming. Maybe they'll, turn on each other and have an incredible feud. Like, I mean, could you imagine a nice brief fall match with Dante versus Darius? There's just a lot of potential with these two guys, and I'm really starting to respect them. At first, I thought they were. I don't want to use the vanilla midget terminology because I hate that, but I was thinking, I'm not sure these guys are going to be able to stand out, but they're incredible. They have unique move sets. They have unique moves, and they're starting to make their mark.
They're biracial. They can't be vanilla midgets. And they're not midgets, by the way. Right. They're just, like, I don't know how, I got to look it up, but I don't think they're that small. I just think that right now, because they're so young, like Dante's like just barely 20. And I think they just need time to fill out. Yeah. Well, okay, so Dante's 5'11", so he's definitely short for wrestling.
Well, actually, that's probably tall in AEW anymore.
Darius is 6'1".
And Dante's 22 and Darius is 23.
Yeah.
So they're pretty damn young. These guys have a ton of potential.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they get a loss. Again, they're going to win the feud in ROH because they're much better than the Kingdom has any right to be feuding with them. I know Bennett and those guys carry some weight and they've been around the indies, well, yada, yada, yada. Top Flight is top notch. And so they're a much better team, and I think the exposure is helping the Kingdom, and good on them that Top Flight is now helping other teams get over. That's what I like to see. Good. They're young. They're going to be around a long, long time. And Darius at 6'1", he is the muscle. He could be a beefy dude. He could be like Scott Steiner. Big and yet still young Scott Steiner, not Papa Pump. Not Big Papa Pump. Not Big Papa Pump big, but like Scott Steiner who invents the Frankensteiner Scott Steiner.
That's a really high mark.
It is.
So I'm gonna have to disagree with you on Scotty Steiner comparison, but
Well, by
But
the
that's
way,
okay. We can agree to disagree.
that's fine. I have seen the very first Frankensteiner. I've seen a video of it on YouTube. It's very old,
Oh yeah,
and it
nice.
is the slowest
Yeah.
Frankensteiner I've ever seen. He gets on the dude's shoulders and he slowly goes down, and the dude slowly bends over. It was
Yeah.
hysterical because it was the first time that he really broke it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, I
That
think
reminds me. I think I
Darius could
posted.
be that sort of mold. How about that? From
I
that
posted.
mold.
That reminds me. I posted Scotty's first is a 450 that he did when he was probably 19.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty with the 450 flash splash
Wow.
from his early WCW days. If there was even WCW, I'm not even sure what promotion that was in. But yeah, interesting clip to see Scotty flying like that.
Yeah, he was an interesting dude when he was younger, and then he got on the roids. Anyways, so that was the ass clowns, who, by the way, the entire ass boy shtick, the entire daddy ass, Billy ass, that's all Danhausen. From before he even worked at AEW, he started that.
Do you know who invented it actually before Danhausen? Danhausen made it famous, and Danhausen may not have heard the original guy that said it, but do you know who the original guy
No.
that said it was? Kip Sabian.
Huh.
No, wait, no,
Interesting.
no, no. It was Peter Avalon. Peter
That
Avalon
makes sense.
said it, and I forget. I don't know. I was, for some reason, I don't know why the fuck I was watching an interview with Peter Avalon, but I was, and he took credit for the Ass Boys thing, and he actually pointed out, he's like, I said it in a tweet, and he said the date. He's like, I am responsible for the Ass Boys. Danhausen stole it, but yeah, sorry, Peter. Danhausen made it famous. You didn't. So
He did. He
it's
did.
Danhausen's claim to fame.
And really, he had the band that made the video, the Ass Boys. He really did a lot of work long before, like I said, before he even got in AEW. That's one of the reasons they signed him. Is he really is? Think about it. He's barely wrestled. He's still got the top selling merch.
Yeah, and it's, speaking of Danhausen, it's a damn shame he tore his pec, and he's
Yep.
going to be out for 6 to 9 months or whatever. That's just awful.
Fuck the
I
Ash
feel
Boys.
like, he was Tony was finally maybe going to start giving him some matches on a regular basis.
I saw.
And maybe like that dark Danhausen where he came out and kicked some ass.
Yep.
And it would help his popularity increase even more if he was winning. Like, you could give him a title. Like, if he won the FTW, could you imagine? Or
Beating Hook.
And, yeah,
That would have to be some serious work on his character.
it would be amazing though.
But no, here's the thing. I agree. I think Danhausen has a ton of potential, but he had a broken leg and he was still signed to AEW because he was still that popular and that over.
Yeah.
So he's still incredibly valuable to the brand and to the company, no matter if he's hurt or not. Now, I dislike the fact that he got a torn pec because the Ass Boys don't know how to do their own goddamn finisher.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm upset.
I haven't really rewatched it or looked into the actual injury. Like, can I blame the Ass Boys for it? I don't know for sure. What do you think? Was it their fault for did the Ass Boys screw up and get him hurt?
It's their finisher, so yes. Whoever's doing the move, it's up to you to protect and ensure your dance partner is protected.
Yeah.
You know what? That was Andre's number one job, was to not kill his opponents. Because he easily could have.
Right,
that was where that came from, because these used to be, in wrestling, he used to be fighting some really giant people versus some small dudes. And so the law of the land was, and Goldberg fucked it up when he hurt La Parka and put out Bret Hart, is you protect your opponents. So.
All right. Goldberg did not hurt La Parka. That is a lie.
I watched it happen.
It's a lie. La Parka grabbed his ankle and worked it. He grabbed his knee. But La Parka wrestled like 4 days, 4 shows in like the next week.
He broke his
Mexico.
ribs by spearing him.
He didn't miss any time. But I had to change the Wikipedia article because
okay, whatever, dude.
I swear to God, it's so funny that you brought that up.
Oh my God!
I had to go in and change the Wikipedia article because it said that Goldberg tore ligaments in La Parka's leg with the a poorly executed spear,
No, he broke
and
his rib. He didn't screw his leg up. I don't know how you screw a leg up in a spear. He broke his fucking
so
ribs.
so Lepark. So well, the article on Wikipedia said that he tore ligaments in
Oh
his
yeah,
knee, and
because just
Lepark covered
anybody
up.
can edit it, so they got to be
Yeah,
right.
that's true. That's true.
You
But
went in and
what
edited it, so they'll just let any old
I
buddy.
know, well, I referenced the matches that he had afterwards and said he didn't miss any time. So how could he have torn ligaments in his knee
That's what I'm
unless he was
saying. It
fighting?
wasn't. But yes, you can wrestle with broken ribs. Look at DDP.
Sure. Yeah.
He literally during that time frame, he was always wrestling with broken ribs. That was his
Look at
entire shtick.
Hogan at WrestleMania 2 wrestled with broken ribs
Exactly.
after Bundy and Big John Studd gave him all those avalanches in the corner.
So that's what I'm saying is that that's ancient history. So let's move
Yes.
on. When the Ass Boys beat the Darius brothers or the Martin brothers, and by the way,
Well,
Dante took it perfectly. So I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
say it was definitely the Guns because this time they were as careful as fuck.
I'm gonna post the Goldberg Laparca match in the
Fine.
AEW Discord server
Go
for all
ahead.
you fans out there join our Elite Mark Order Discord server.
If you're brand
and you
new,
can-
by the way, welcome. You can always go to elitemarkorder.com, join the Discord. There's a big button right there at the top. There's another button there later on. You can also click on join the Discord down below. There's a link that should work. If it doesn't work, which by the way, we need to update that link because Discord does kill it after a couple of days, so we have to update that link. Click on the link down below in the Discord, and you can join us at theelitemarkorder.com. Just remember the secret password, JJ for life.
Day for life.
There you go. So FTR came out, and they talked to the Guns. They're like, "We want a shot. No. We'll break up as a team. No. We'll never wrestle ever again in AEW. Okay." So either FTR leaves or they win the title and stay. Now, historically, these matches can only happen at the end of a contract. And so that's really the only story they've been telling, and they've been telling it on Twitter. They've been telling it on social media for weeks now. And so I maintain they've re-signed. I think this is all storyline, and I think obviously they win because they're not going to lose if they've re-signed. So how do you think it's going?
I'll get back to the contract status, but did not like how this segment was structured as far as FTR. To me, it's something else that FTR has fucked up. The first thing where I say they fucked up is when they left Tully, when they split with Tully. Dax said something about family, and Tully said something like, "You're not supposed to be focused on your family. You're supposed to be focused on wrestling." And then there was like some really awkward split, and that might have just been Tully being Tully because he didn't like the segment and they made him do it anyways. But this segment kind of brought me back to that. I mean, I think it was Cash was talking and he said, if we lose, we'll never tag together again or something.
That was one offer.
And then it was like that would be bigger than them not being allowed to fight in AEW if they could never team together again. Like that.
But that doesn't matter to the Ass Boys.
Right. But the next thing was, and then they said the next thing was where they would leave AEW if they lost.
And
so
and I understand if the Ass Boys can beat them, they never have to deal with them again. So from the Ass Boys' perspective, that was the better deal. I get that.
I didn't like it. I thought it was awkward. When they first said that they would never team together again, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like,
I thought that was big too.
Like to me, that's a bigger stake than them leaving AEW only to be able to come back later.
But you're not an Ass Boy.
Yeah, but I'm a fan, and they should say something that makes sense. But I guess I guess you could argue that they were working the Ass Boys. I just thought it was awkward.
Sure,
but whatever. So as for FTR's contract status, I don't know that they have re-signed yet. I don't know that I don't. I guess it's my thought is if Tony would Tony be using them if they hadn't re-signed right now? Would he be giving them this match? And yeah, I mean, Tony has a ton of respect for FTR. If they are leaving, he would want them to come back. And if FTR is leaving, they're going to want to put over someone. Maybe they want to put over the Ass Boys to help establish a young team. I mean, I can't imagine in what universe FTR would think that that was the right decision because there's so many other teams that are better than the Ass Boys. But um, so yeah, there's two scenarios. They're staying or they're going, and I think the scenario that would be the worst one to see is if the Ass Boys make them leave. So I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I think it's to me I'm at 50-50. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how things play out. And
Well,
it's good suspense. It's going to be very interesting, and it's another Ass Boys match that I'm going to be interested in seeing because there's some high stakes to it, and I don't know what's going to happen. So I guess props to Tony for doing that. I just wish it was someone else other than the Ass Boys.
it gets us invested. And if for some reason they lose, then people will hate the Ass Boys even more. Now, I don't think that's a necessarily good thing because people hate the Ass Boys as go away X-Pac heat, but that's a whole nother matter. Viewership says more than anything, and the eyeballs left during their match. So pay attention, Tony. We know you're listening. So
That's right, Tony.
after that, we
Listen
moved
up.
in. What's that?
I said that's right, Tony. Listen up.
Yeah, yeah. JJ for life. So
Hey, we're
next
done.
we move through. I mean, I'm done with the guns. Um,
Yeah.
so next we moved into a video package about Tyra Valkyrie and her Rampage debut. Moved right into backstage with Jade Cargill, where she talked about Valkyrie, and then they moved right into the lawsuit with Mark Sterling, and then I guess Layla Gray was going to deliver it to her, and then they tried to feed into Hook versus Stokely, and they were laughing about it. I don't know. I didn't like that segment. I thought the transition sucked, and once again, there were sound issues. So I'm really getting tired of that with AEW. Their sound issues are killing me.
Yeah, it was disappointing to see them still having sound issues. I mean, how much money do you have to throw at that problem to fix it, and why doesn't Tony Khan do that? I don't know.
It's just I don't know. It's clearly a sound issue. Somebody's got to fucking fix it. But I
I
also
don't
thought it
know. It's
was
almost
weird
like
because when they transitioned to the backstage, you could hear the audience and Excalibur's talking over, and we're gonna have this at backstage to Renegade, and then the cheering stopped, like they just cut that channel, and it was
I
just
don't know.
abrupt. I don't know.
Maybe
I hear
maybe
stuff
QT's in charge of the audio,
that
and
would
just
do
like
it.
his wrestling and all his other stuff, it sucks and it's not working. But Tony's just sticking with it because QT's his pal.
That would do it. That would absolutely do it. So we moved right on into the no DQ match between Hook and Stokely Hathaway. Now, the favorite part for me was during the introduction. Stokely Hathaway, who's not as large as the men he represents, but he's got the heart of a lion and the wisdom of an owl. I was okay. That's funny. Then he came out and said, I got a doctor's note from Doc Simpson. It's not Doc Samson, Dr. Simpson. Apparently, he's living in the Simpsons world. Turns out that was actually a receipt from a wing stop that said, he's sick. Stokely was just killing it. And then finally he's
Mm.
like, I've got to announce my retirement to all 12 of my fans. Thank you. I was dying. I was seriously like, this is so good. This is why Punk originally wanted to work with him, because he's legitimately good. He's entertaining. Nobody was buying it. They started the match, and Hook destroyed him. What a surprise! I thought Hook was okay selling. He's so fucking green. But overall, it was an okay match, and he won. What a surprise! Uh, I've
So
seen better matches. I've seen better matches.
what was the spot with the railing? Hook went out and got the railing, and I was kind of surprised to see him bring it in the ring. But he didn't really use it. Like, what happened with the railing?
He
Anything?
put it in the
I
corner, And then
Yep.
he did a suplex, and poor Stokely got thrown into it, and it was bent.
Okay.
So he
All
did
right. And
use
then he
it in a
tapped him.
spot. And yeah, then he basically had the pin, and he pulled him up, and then
Yeah,
he
so
put
that's
him in
right.
the tap out.
Yeah. The Taja Hajime.
Right.
Or
This
Kaja
Red
Hajime.
Rum. The
Red Rum.
Taz Mission. Call it every name in the book. But, it was okay. It was Hook's starting to wear really thin, and I like him. I think he's got so much that he could do, and I thought this was an entertaining match, but his weaknesses were really glaring in this match.
Well, I mean, Stokely can't carry Hook, so it
Right.
is what it is.
And it was a trash match because it was no DQ. His guys absolutely were uninterested in being involved. They were in back laughing about it, basically. So the very end of it, basically, it sounded like it was All Ego Ethan Page who's next going to go up against Hook to prove that they can beat him. So I guess Hook is feuding with the Firm now. So
Ethan Page versus Hook should be interesting.
Page is a good wrestler.
Yeah, he is, and he should be able to toss Hook around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will be interesting, and the question is, who's gonna end Hook's undefeated streak, and I think it's gonna be Danhausen. I think I called that earlier tonight, and so when Danhausen comes back, it's gonna be like Cody coming back after the torn pec to beat Roman at Mania. It's gonna be Danhausen coming back from the pec to beat Hook at All Out for the title, and it'll be the main event, and
Yeah,
that's why they're probably going to the United Center instead of the Sears Center
in
for the
Chicago.
more seats because in Chicago because they know that Hook Danhausen will sell out the United Center. Boom, got it. You heard it here first, fans
Look,
on
you
the
booked
Elite
it.
Narc
You
Order
called it.
podcast.
It's right here on podcast number 15 for the world to hear. So
There you go.
we move on because obviously Hook won and Stokely Hathaway was a crumpled heap. We move on, and it was the big reveal of who Adam Cole is going to be wrestling next week in his big return. And once again, the audience loves Adam Cole. He's not quite as over because it's been over 9 months and people haven't seen him wrestle, but they're still pretty into him. They still did the boom mostly. It was good. It showed he still had a good connection, and his opponent is Daniel Garcia, and I don't think that's a bad choice because Daniel Garcia came out. He looked different than his normal JAS stuff, but he was an all leather, sunglasses, sort of playing all cool sports entertainer. But during the promo, he called himself a pro wrestler, sports entertainer, looking straight at the camera. So he's playing his role very well. And I noticed he's taller than Adam Cole.
Oh well, who isn't?
Well, okay, that's true. I think Britt's not taller.
I think she is.
She might be. But so I was like, okay, him versus Adam Cole. That's actually not terrible because then Daniel Garcia proceeded to drop a couple of stats that I was not aware of. And he's got more actual ring time in main events than anybody else over the last year. And I thought that was a fairly impressive statistic if it's true. I didn't double check it, but I figure it's a good enough boast if it's not true. He still thought of it and you didn't.
Yeah, Daniel Garcia has been involved in a lot of AEW programming. He has been involved in a lot of Dynamites, and he's really established himself as, I would say, upper mid card talent.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to watching Garcia fight. My buddy that I go to the show that I travel to go to the shows with, he knows Daniel Garcia's brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he ever met Daniel Garcia, but he does know his brother, so that's kind of cool. Daniel Garcia is one of the Buffalo Kids, so along with Butcher and Blade.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought Daniel Garcia had kind of a cool look with the leather jacket, coming wrapping out, and he looked like a star. Not to sound like Jim Ross,
He
but he looked
did.
like a star coming out a little bit. I think he's definitely elevated himself With Sammy being focused on the four pillars versus MJF, maybe him and Daniel Garcia are going to spend some time apart. Um, so yeah, I guess this is good. I'm happy for Daniel Garcia. I'm not happy that Garcia is going to have to lose to Adam Cole. I'm not the biggest Adam Cole fan, but yeah, it's an interesting program. It's good that Adam Cole is back. I'm looking forward to seeing his return, and Daniel Garcia is a good opponent for him. So bring it on.
he really did list off some big names that he had beat, including Bryan Danielson. And I was like,
Yep.
holy crap, he really did beat him, didn't he? So
Yeah, he tapped him with the
yeah,
scorpion, I believe.
the right, he has established himself. That's why he called himself the Dragon Slayer for a while. You know, he worked with Jericho. He really did. He's learned at Jericho and Sammy, and they have really taken to it more than Ortiz and Santana ever did. And
So
that's a problem for me because they
here's a question for
yeah.
you. Not to jump off Santana or Ortiz, feel free to run back to them. But the two guys being considered to join the BCC were Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta.
Yep.
Do you think they made the right choice by picking Wheeler and leaving Daniel Garcia to join the JAS?
So I think Garcia in this last promo proved that he made the right choice in staying, and with his professional sports entertainer bit, I think he still sort of got that wheel to turn at any time. So his character is very clear to me. He is a wrestler trying to be an entertainer. And I think again, working with Jericho, that's become obvious. The JAS has done more for that crew, except even including Hager, who's got his hat now. Everybody has improved in the JAS with their gimmicks and their characters, versus the inner circle, where really it was only Jericho and Sammy who got any development.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
Santana and Ortiz had a valid point. And Jake Hagar didn't give a shit. And the only reason he got over was the hat. And somebody somewhere just gave him a hat. And he's like, I like this hat. Let's run. Jericho really promoted the shit out of just run with it. It'll be funny. We'll get it over. We'll get you over.
Yep.
Because
But
that's
Jericho
their
can
shtick.
Jericho can get anyone over if he wants. He got Ralphus over. So.
Yep. I remember Ralphus. He was hysterical because of Jericho. Absolutely true. So that was it. That was Daniel Garcia versus Adam Cole, and I'm excited for next week.
R.I.P. Ralphus, by the way. He
Yeah.
passed away in 2019.
Yeah.
He's very sad.
He was a very funny guy, and it was just a random thing that Jericho pulled out of the back, and just decided, I'm going to make you my partner, and you're going to get famous, and he did it.
That he did.
We then continue the ongoing storyline throughout the night when Alex Marvez went backstage in the dressing room to talk to Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Don Callis did his thing where he was selling the god of wrestling is back, and Kenny Omega is a singles, enhancing his character, showing where he wants Kenny to go. Kenny being split, showing his divided loyalties between his friends, the Bucks, who are in the hospital, as well as his singles life and Don Callis. I loved just little touches right here and there throughout the night, built up Kenny, built up the tension, built up the storyline, paid off at the end of the night. I mean, come on now. People were asking for storyline. Here it is. It didn't involve the match itself, but here's the fucking storyline with the top draw of the night. And guess what? It held attention. It wasn't the Ass Boys. So, that was that segment. Yeah. I thought it was good. Yeah. What'd you think?
It's adding more to the tale between Don Callis, Kenny Omega, and the Elite. So, I mean, at this point, it's clear that Callis does not want Kenny with the Bucks anymore. I think one of the things he said was, like, you're better off without them, and don't worry about the Bucks. They're good kids. They'll be fine in 6 months.
Yeah,
just I thought some hilarious comments.
Callis is a
Um,
gold mine. He
he
really
is.
is.
Um, so the Callis really has two things going on right now. He's trying to rip Kenny out of the elite. He doesn't want Kenny to be with the Bucks. He doesn't want Kenny to be with Hangman, which we'll get to.
Hmm.
And he's also interested in Takeshita. So you got those two guys going. Um, I don't know. I don't know where this goes. I mean, it looks like they're setting up a BCC versus the Elite feud. If that's happening, what is Kenny doing with Callis? Maybe it ends up being Hangman and the Bucks, and Kenny branches off and is a heel on the single side again for a while. I'd rather see Kenny be a face. I think I've definitely had more than enough of heel Kenny in AEW. I mean, I'd love to see him have a titles run as a face, with where he's primarily focusing on having great matches, great title matches. But with his contract expiring in 6 months or 8 months or whatever it is, it's hard to see him winning the heavyweight title anytime soon. So I don't know. There's just a lot Tony can do here.
He's
Um,
a wrestler who doesn't need the title to be the top draw. He can put on the best matches of the night, like Bryan Danielson, with Bryan Danielson, and it doesn't need to be over the title. Kenny, if he wants the title and he wants to carry the company, he was starting the promo. He was already starting after the match, starting before he was attacked, which we'll get to. He was starting to say, "I don't know how much longer I can do single matches at this
yeah.
level," and
Yep.
he's been saying that in interviews for a while.
Yes, he has.
So he's building up to it. This is going to be a longer story. It's going to be a couple of years. But I think he is going to transition to a much different style and frequency after the next couple of years because he worked hard to get healthy. He's healthy now. He can put on great matches, but he knows he's just a couple of bad moves away from being
Yeah, one
hurt.
of the things that kind of jumped out at me when I was flying to Winnipeg, I was reading the Young Bucks book, Killing the Business, and when they were talking about the formation of AEW, Matt Jackson said he was talking with Kenny, and Kenny said, "Yeah, he's like, I got to get out of New Japan. I'm going to die fighting over here just
Hmm.
because the style is so dangerous." So I did think that was interesting. I don't know how true that was, where he really wanted to get out of New Japan just because his body just couldn't handle the style anymore. I do know that when Kenny left New Japan, he didn't really wrestle for like 6 months. But when AEW first started, he was not even close to being into the great shape. Like
No.
he's in much better shape now than he
Yeah.
was back then. So, but I don't understand like why he didn't take care of his injuries back then, and I don't think he's been fully transparent about his stuff, so who knows what was going on. Maybe his vertigo issues were still happening and he couldn't train, he couldn't he didn't want to get the surgery if he was dealing with vertigo. I mean, who knows, because he couldn't rehab after it.
Yeah.
So who knows what the challenges were and it's going on. But that's just it's the price your body pays when you wrestle the style that he does.
For as long as
And,
he does and is the high level that he does it at. Absolutely.
yeah, and then just a quick shout out to Okada, because Okada wrestles a similar style. Maybe doesn't jump as much as Kenny with the dives out of the ring, but Okada takes a beating in the ring like no one I've ever seen. And he's had back issues the past couple years where he's missed some time, but he has stayed incredibly healthy for the type of wrestling that he's done and being on top of that promotion. Okada is just unbelievable, and I can't wait to see who he's going to fight at Forbidden Door. So
Yeah. There's a lot of excitement for Forbidden Door. It is sold out to the gills. It is going to be sold out quick.
isn't he on sale tomorrow?
I
The
think it
public
is
on
the
sale?
pre-sale. The pre-sale was like just crushed. You
Yep.
guys crushed the pre-sale, and so
Yep.
the actual sale, yeah. I think they got a couple thousand, like 5, 6. I think is what Robert posted. Like
Hmm.
11,000 sold, and there's going to be 14,000. So there's a bunch still open. But
Yeah.
man, you guys snapped those up fast. It was
Yep,
those were hotcakes. That was a hot deal.
I did get a couple tickets to the show, but it
Hmm.
is also the day after my wedding, and it's the honeymoon is supposed to start the next day. There's
Maybe we'll have a contest. We can give them away. Okay, maybe
yeah,
not.
that might be better than having to go to Paris and buy a spend a night at the Eiffel Tower view room, which is the concession that I have to make to get permission to go to Forbidden Door. So
It's so hard to say whether or not that's actually going to happen, but you did buy
is
the
it
tickets
worth
to
it?
Forbidden Doors, so it could happen. But you could sell it. Come on over to
Mhm.
EliteMarkOrder.com Discord, talk to Jay, and see how much those Forbidden Door tickets are worth to you.
Starting bid is $500 each.
There you go. So the next segment after the beautiful Don Callis interview was John Moxley versus Stu Grayson. So the welcome back match for Stu Grayson, rejoining the Dark Order up against the BCC, who apparently are feuding with every trios out there in their ultimate heel ways. John Moxley had a pretty good match against Stu. I don't think anything really stood out other than now that they've fully gone heel, John Moxley has stopped bleeding and has changed his style. He's no longer a brawler. He's much more ground and pound, mat focus, submission, torture moves, and just being a really vicious heel. So he showcased that. They finished it off with an amazing top rope Death Rider. Stu Grayson did great. He did an amazing comeback for the second half of the match. Welcome back, Stu. Great match. What did you think of it?
Another great showing by Stu. He shows that he belongs, and I hope Tony realizes this and that him and Uno get a chance to go for those tag team titles.
Yeah.
They'd be better champions than the Guns. Maybe that's who I don't. I mean, I don't know what the Acclaimed are doing right now, but maybe the Dark Order can go for the tag titles. I mean, we got two legit teams in the Dark Order now that Stu is back, and maybe they'll have a feud with the Guns. And maybe that one of those teams will win the titles. I think anyone would be happy to see the titles on the Dark Order over the Guns. So
I still think it'll be FTR, but if FTR doesn't take it, absolutely, I would love to see either Uno and Grayson or even Silver and Reynolds. They have some amazing double teams as their finisher. I love their combos. So, John Silver's over as hell. It's Johnny Hungy. We know he's got charisma. I'd love to see them as a tag. So there's a lot of different tag combos possible. And if the Young Bucks stay out of the trios, they're also added into the mix. The Lucha Brothers are always there. So there's the potential for quite a few good tag matches.
yep.
I thought Stu, again, did a great job. John Moxley killed him and, put him in a bunch of different chokeholds and choke moves and stretch moves. And then he pounded him. Then he finished it off with the ultimate Death Rider. But Stu took a beating. It was a great match, and it took a lot out of Moxley to finish him off. And so
Yeah.
he proved, because the finish sequence was Moxley had him in the chokehold, and Stu fought out of it and went into a cannonball in the corner to force the break. And then he went up to the top, and Moxley like, nope, I'm done with you. Went up, Death Rider from the top, done. But
Yep.
ultimately, Stu did a great job, held himself well against Moxley. I'd love to see more Stu. I'd love to see more Uno. I told you previously, Badass Uno is one of my favorite characters. I want to see more. I'd love to see the Smash Brothers really take it to the tag division. I agree with you.
For sure. Unleash Uno and Dos. I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, player 1 and 2. Hell yeah. We moved backstage to Ricky Starks talking about Juice Robinson, and they're going to go ahead and fight on Rampage. Okay, whatever.
Did Jay White show up in this segment?
He did not.
Damn.
Okay. He did talk about the Bullet Club, but whatever. I'm just okay. Good job. You just have a fight already. I'm done with this segment. Juice he's fine, but because it's not Jay White, just like you said, people really aren't into it.
Yeah, and Ricky Starks, his momentum seems to be waning a little bit,
I don't know what
but
happened. Maybe it's the booking.
it's the booking. I mean, no one's interested in a program with him and Juice. If it was Ricky Starks versus Jay White,
Yep.
it'd be one of the most anticipated, matches on the show.
And Ricky could
And
lose and still look great.
yep,
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Juice is doing anything for him. I think this is a completely fizzled out feud. They need to do something to get a spark for it.
I
That
did
said,
at the
mhm.
at the podcast that had technical difficulties. I did talk a bit about Juice and his past with Kenny Omega. How Kenny Omega's first U.S. title defense was against Juice, and Kenny finished him with his one wing angel off the second rope. And I believe that was the first time Kenny used an avalanche OWA. And then I also talked about how Juice broke Kevin Owens' nose with the palm strike, but that's a story for another time.
And Juice got Moxley's respect. So he's not a terrible wrestler. It's just he hasn't, and I harp on this all the time, he hasn't connected with the fans. Now,
Tony hasn't given Juice an opportunity, or hasn't built up Juice like he's any kind of threat, or he has any chance to win yet. Because I think he has zero chance of beating Starks unless like other Bullet Club guys show up. So, but I think it's good that he's starting to get the Bullet Club into the programming to help build up Forbidden Door. I really want to see a good Bullet Club program going into Forbidden Door. We did not get that last year, so hopefully this year we get some more Bullet Club hype.
well, the
Although
possible
the Bullet Club's in fucking shambles right now.
right.
They're talking about David Finlay being the new leader. It's like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
My
So,
point is, it's been around a long damn time, and
yeah, but
the entire
it was
segment.
the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, well, it was over. The Robin, Juice and Ricky Starks need something. They need something added to this mix, a little fire. Maybe this match will be the ignition for a longer feud. I don't fucking know, but right now, it's a Rampage match, and that tells you how important it is.
Right.
The next segment was not the worst in the world, was not the worst on the show, and the viewing audience actually stuck around for QTV, which I thought was terrible. And it was QTV doing their stupid TMZ stuff, and they talked about Ray Phoenix versus Hobbs, and they didn't even have Hobbs there. Thought it was dumb. I'd like to move on.
Yeah, so are you on the Storm Sky Blue match?
Yep.
Or
So next, after QTV, is Tony Storm.
that's right, QTV.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking something up, and I didn't really have any comments to make on QTV. I didn't exactly pay attention to it.
Nor should you. What I said was it featured Ray Phoenix, and that's what I said.
Yeah, QT is go away heat. I'm just not really interested in watching him, so I don't really have any further comment.
Fair enough. So the next match was Tony Storm, who came out with, of course, Saraya and Ruby Soho, who had their spray cans at the ready the entire match, versus Sky Blue. Now, I will admit that Tony Storm started off the match almost identical to her match on Dark the previous night on Tuesday, where she was facing Billy Starks. Now, first of all, spoiler alert, Billy Starks did not break Tony Storm's nose. So it is not every match that she breaks someone or bloodies somebody's nose.
Or Billy.
Look, she's 18. She's got a ton of potential. Like, so much of AEW is just boiling, ready to start to sprout. They're 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 23-year-olds. The future is damned bright for AEW if they could hold the ship together. So,
Yep.
I thought it was Sky Blue did great. She's got some moves that I've started to recognize. She does a low kick that spins around and hits people in the head. I think there was an actual name that Excalibur gave for it. It was probably Japanese. I didn't hear it exactly, but she started to put together some pieces that's, I'm starting to not get impressed because I've watched her this whole time. But I see her growth. I see her advancement. She started to put together some just chain moves and things that tell a story in the ring She does her code blue move, which is just a code red, but her name is Sky Blue, so it's blue. I, again, it was a blue sky versus a storm. I mean, come on now. Could you get more metaphorical? I think
Right.
I think overall it was a typical match you expect at this point. Toni Storm got the win. She got a great sequence at the end where she hit the Sweet Chic music. Then she hit, I think it was a DDT or something. Then she hit the Storm Zero, and it was done. Sky Blue was not getting up. Overall, it was
Yeah,
good.
I love Storm's finishing sequence. It's a great combo of moves. It's usually that I think it's I can't remember if it's a Northern Lights or if it's a German suplex
That's what it
into
was.
the Stormbreaker. With her kind of a snap pile driver.
Yeah, the
So
Storm
yeah, it
Zero
was
is what she calls it.
Storm Zero. What did I say?
Storm
Snap pile
Breaker.
driver.
You called it Storm
Stormbreaker.
Breaker, which I think is a better
Stormbreaker.
name.
Right. So Storm Zero. I thought it was a better match than I expected. I think we're starting to see Sky Blue coming
Yeah.
along. She's kind of being pushed along to have more and more competitive matches. It used to be she would lose in 3 minutes, and now she's having 8 minute matches, and she's putting together a win streak on Dark and Elevation. So
Yep.
I think we're going to see Sky Blue with an upset sometime in the near future. And yeah, she's a good wrestler, so it's good to see.
She's really coming together, and again, other than our joke in the Discord about her and phony, I think she's gotten attention from the audience from day one. And Tony saw immediate response from people, so he signed her quickly. And that was Chicago. That was back when Punk debuted. So it's
Yep.
been over a year, and her growth has been obvious. I think Billy Starks is another one where he knows that she's ready to be signed like really soon now. So, uh, you know, I have seen a lot of Dark and Elevation wrestlers move through the ranks slowly, get on TV at Dynamite, start to work their way up. I think they've got some real development going on finally. I think that the rumors of Dustin Rhodes opening up his own promotion and turning that into a young feeder that then goes into ROH, that then goes into Dark and Elevation, and then on up to Rampage and Dynamite. I think the future, if he sets it up correctly, there will be a machine cranking out the highest of elevation of trained wrestlers ready to hit TV at a moment's notice. And I think an overabundance of that type of talent ready to pick and choose is good for the industry as a whole and amazing for AEW because they get first pick. So that's just how I kind of see it. And I think Sky Blue is indicative of that. After the match, after Toni Storm beat her up, Sky Blue was going to get the spray paint treatment, but down came the really scary Riho in a pipe and Willow, who came to the ring and saved her. So,
Is there anything more fearsome
no,
than pipe wielding Riho?
no, the amount of force that she can put behind it with her 96 pounds is stunning. I think the pipe weighs more than her. The fact that she can lift it, it's because she's an ant. And she can lift and move around like 12 times her weight. That's why she can beat Nyla so easily. Speaking of Nyla, I don't know if it was a joke, but did they actually sign Nia Jax?
No. It was
Thank
Photoshop.
God.
Yeah, we don't need that in AEW.
No. But Nyla versus Nia would actually be interesting
I
for
would
me.
watch that. I would just hope it wasn't in AEW.
Well, no, because I would. Because all the haters against Nyla, all of the trans hate against her for no fucking reason, I think you put her in the ring with Nia Jax, who's the exact same shape and size and is cisgendered. All of the haters have to shut up finally.
Yeah.
I want to see that match just for the spectacle of two people who are built basically the same, who are both used to being the biggest people in the ring, clash. It's a Big John Studd Andre match.
Yep. The irresistible force meets the, what was it?
Immovable
Unmovable
object.
object.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the classic immovable
Right.
object.
Right.
Yeah. So I, again, Nyla versus Naya, I think is a dream match. I think it'd be 5 stars, 6 stars in the Tokyo Dome. I think it will have moves like you've never seen. Top rope, flipping Hurricane Rana, double backflip. I think it'll put the Vikingo Kenny Kenny Omega match to shame.
I'm saying rebuild the Pontiac Silverdome and let's break that indoor attendance record.
Rebuild it just
Yeah.
for that
Just
match.
they would make the money of the cost of rebuilding the Silverdome
Easy,
over multiple times with that main
easy,
event.
easy.
Sure.
They that would be the marquee match for decades. They would replay that just as the intro to everything in the stadium.
It would
Doesn't matter what it
outdraw
is. Doesn't matter what it is. That gets the intro.
and put it on NBC on Saturday night. It'll outdraw the Hogan Andre, the big event that did like 50 million viewers in the U.S. It'll outdraw that too.
Oh yeah, no, because people are still totally watching NBC.
Right.
Absolutely watching terrestrial. We got nothing else going on a Saturday night except wrestling.
They don't watch broadcast TV anymore, but for that match, they'll bust out the rabbit ears to pick
They
it up.
will. They will. They'll get the digital converters because there's no rabbit ears possible anymore.
Right.
That was converted back in the 2000s.
Right.
There's a last match we should talk about.
Well, go ahead.
No, there isn't. There was one backstage segment, which was Stu Grayson getting attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yep,
and then we had the last match. So this is really the end of the show. So we can talk about anything.
Well, there's the aftermath of the last match.
That's true. We didn't talk about that. So after Kenny wins, and by the way, while they were laying there completely exhausted, Kenny and Vikingo had a little handshake, and Kenny tapped his chest. Basically, you could see the communication like that was a fucking amazing match. And they both...
The respect.
Yeah, the respect between the two, I think, was absolutely deserved. You could see that they genuinely trusted working with each other, and they knew they put on a great match. I mean, that was definitely a 6-star match at the Tokyo Dome. There's no question. If that happened in New Japan, Meltzer would be jizzing himself.
Did he rate it yet?
No, I don't know.
No, that'll be. We should get a rating for that soon. Oh, I was looking at the cage match. Cage match has it as a 9.3, which is pretty good.
That's not bad. Not as good as some of the ones recently, but that's cage match. That's the audience, so But we do have to talk a little bit about the beatdown at the end of the night. Was the BCC came out and they were beating up on Kenny, revealing that they clearly were the ones that put out the Young Bucks. So they've now started shit with the Dark Order and the Elite, starting everything. So they don't care anymore. They're taking everybody out, and they're beating down Kenny. And the next thing you know, an ambulance sound starts, and it's not Scott Steiner. I was disappointed. I thought for sure it was Scott Steiner. It wasn't. It was an ambulance coming back. And apparently Hangman had committed a felony and he had stolen an ambulance and drove it back to the arena. And so the Blackpool Combat Club stopped beating up on Kenny, face the entrance, and wait. And then Hangman's music eventually hits because it took a while for him to get from the back all the way to the gorilla. So I think they could have timed it a little bit better. They didn't have to do it live. They could have taped that before. I'm just saying. And they finally get him to the ring. Blackpool Combat Club clears out. Hangman's got a board with some nails in it, so they got the hell out of there. Kenny's hurt. He's not looking. Callis tugs at Hangman, who kind of turns around like he was going to hit him. And he's like, no, not me. He turns around again. Callis grabs him. He shrugs him off. Callis falls to the ground. Kenny comes to, kind of looks around, and Callis is like, he hit me. He hit me. And now there's tension again between Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. And that's how we ended, was the don't hurt me, Don Callis, selling like the amazing worm he is, the great manipulator, trying to keep Kenny Omega away from Hangman, away from the Elite, and manipulating Kenny more and more. And that's how we end the show. I happen to think it was a great episode. Had nothing but storyline with the Elite throughout. I love that. Bring me more. Feed me more. This is what I like. I thought it was a great episode. What'd you think?
Yeah, good episode. Of course, I love seeing the Elite featured, seeing Kenny featured, with having a great singles match. Just for shits and giggles, I looked up the rating on Cage Match. It's the 360th top best match in wrestling history according to Cage Match viewers. So there were 359 better matches than what we saw last night. I think it's probably a little bit higher than that for me, but yeah, good stuff. We did talk kind of in detail about how KLS is pushing Kenny away from Hangman. He's pushing Kenny away from the Bucks. Where's that going?
With Takeshita, he's got that trio going on. So he's got a couple of threads that he's pulling, and it's intriguing to know where he's going.
Are we going to see Kota Ibushi show up? Are we going to see Jay White show up? Jay White has ties to the Bullet Club. Adam Cole, I'm sorry. Jay White has ties to the Elite. Adam Cole has ties to the Elite. There's just a lot. Now all these guys are getting healthy and everyone's coming back. We have a lot of great stuff going on. I'll note that when all those guys are healthy, and there's rumors that Punk might be coming back, which is we could do a whole nother show on that. With AEW at a full roster, their ratings are going to go up. They're going to start busting 1 million every week again. And, if Roman is really going to take 6 months off and not be on TV at all after Mania, because he's going to go do a movie or whatever the hell it is he's going to do, then, maybe we'll start seeing that those Dynamite numbers start creeping towards Raw again, which would make for some interesting discussion on in the Twitter sphere and on the internet. So
because that's always a forum full of decorum, respect, intelligence, and well thought out rational positions.
Yeah, my block list is approaching 1,000, I think, on Twitter, it's impressive.
My block list turned into Twitter. I just deleted my account a few months ago, and I'm just done with it. So
you gotta come back.
No, I don't.
To help promote for the good of the dark.
Here's the thing.
I avoid. Go ahead.
I love the Elite Mark Order, JJ for life. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that this thing that we call a podcast could involve me anymore. I've already built a website for it. We're doing a podcast for it. We've got YouTube stuff going on. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to rejoin Twitter. I've got Facebook that I can promote on. I've got Reddit that I can promote on. I've got LinkedIn that I can promote on. I've got friends all over the place that I can promote on. I'm not going to Twitter.
All right.
So I'm the type of guy, when I make a decision, I'm done. I was on Twitter for years. I was on Twitter for a long time because I knew the value of it. The moment Elmo Muskrat bought Twitter, I was done. Then when he started his shit, I was like, nope, delete. I don't even care. Now, does that mean I don't watch Twitter? No, of course I do. I have a work Twitter account because I do work social media stuff. I don't tweet. No, I don't. No. I don't tweet. I don't interact. I don't do any of that. That's for work.
Still follow. Well, how do you? Okay, but you should still follow me, even though it's your work account. For those of you wondering, along with Scott, what my Twitter is, it's JayV_37, and
that's at Twitter.
Add me, follow me, set your alarms for my set your notifications, because I tweet great stuff. Like once a week, I'll retweet something cool. So,
that you probably do have some amazing content on Twitter. I also have amazing content, but it's mostly in the Discord.
That's right.
That's and this podcast. That's where all my stuff goes. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and end it here. It's been a lot of fun. We could definitely talk a lot longer, but JJ for life.